Steve Matthews is the senior content director of an upcoming multi-website platform dealing with a wide variety of cults and new religious movements from an apologetics perspective. He grew up in Canada as an atheist. He was nearly baptized into the Mormon Church, but after he encountered a believer who shared apologetic materials with him, he changed direction and became a Christian. Steve has earned an MA in apologetics from Trinity International University. He has studied under John Warwick Montgomery, Norman Geisler, J.P. Moreland, and several other well-known apologists. He has studied a variety of cults and the growing transformational festival culture. He is passionate about breaking new ground on emerging groups, for which there is little information currently available in articles, podcasts, YouTube videos, or documentaries. Matthews' conviction is that we must look at these groups from behavioral, psychological, and theological perspectives. He does his research from primary source materials and attends group gatherings to gain first-hand knowledge. Please welcome Steve Matthews to the platform.
All right, by show of hands, who here knows someone who's been to Burning Man? Big chunk of the room. Well, now you've met someone else who's gone, you got a new friend. I've been. All right, so welcome to the world of Burning Man. By the way, before I even start that, if my clicker works. Good technology problems already? Here we go. Went to sleep. This fella here in my little intro, that's Larry Harvey, the founder of Burning Man. So, and that the other one was Kip McKean from the ICC. So here we go. Welcome to the world of Burning Man. So I will say at the outset, there's way too many slides for this presentation because we're not going to finish at 7 o'clock tonight. So I'm going to blast through a lot of them and summarize them to give you an idea. We're going to cover a lot of topics. There's a lot of overlap with other aspects in this whole idea of transformational festivals. Here we go.
The world that people knew is kind of over already. It's rattling, it's falling apart. And the world that's coming is not clear yet. And so what I think happens is when things begin to rattle and fall apart, it creates space and room for surprising things to happen. And to me, this is one of the surprising things.
We came out here for otherworldly motives, and we were looking for a big blank space where we could realize our vision unmolested by society. Only to discover that we had actually created a city and now we were responsible for thousands of people, and we were the establishment.
The experience of Burning Man was just so overwhelming and so powerful that it literally sent my life on a 90-degree turn from the direction it was heading, and I never looked back.
In a heightened environment like this, everything just comes up. Everything shows itself.
The Bloom is the story of a generation who have found their home within a growing movement of powerful, life-changing festivals around the world.
It's an epic tale of irrepressible creativity of the producers, the artists, and participants making these remarkable realities together. But this story also goes deeper.
The Bloom explores this phenomenon through the lens of 12 themes, which connect this emerging ethos to the greater conversations of our time.
It's a mistake to think that actually what's going on is that it's a drug culture, it's a psychedelically inspired culture. But it's not necessarily about going there and always doing the same thing. The ultimate outcome is to create a culture in which that internal experience is actually externalized in a way that allows everyone to access it.
I feel like these festivals are really giving us a little taste of just the way it could be. Imagine if children lived like that and learned like that. Imagine if, food and sharing and love and connection, and the minute you look in someone's eyes, you feel them.
We're all here. We're people who want to soar and be free and expand ourselves and shine our light. So we're all here together. Let's do something incredible. Let's learn something new. Let's explore something that we haven't before.
Most people I meet these days are looking for change. It took me a long time to look for a festival as a place for change, but that's where I found it. It's the village that grows.
With these senses and these hands, we were created to create. Forge ahead.
So there you have it, a taste of transformational festivals. We got a lot to cover today. One of the sayings I keep repeating again and again and again is that it's not about the Mormons and Jehovah's Witnesses anymore. 20-year-old kids are doing this. You know how much more fun this is than going to a Kingdom Hall and doing your Watchtower study? People want this transcendent experience with incredible artwork, stuff you'll never see anywhere else in the world, this sense of community and fun and these wild events that you just can't get anywhere, and that's what you get. So we're gonna fly through a lot of the slides, and we're gonna cover a lot of overlapping cool stuff. So first off, definitions. What are, don't you do this again, transformational festivals? Transformational festivals are multi-day outdoor countercultural immersive events where people come to camp out and create a temporary community to seek personal and planetary transformation and oneness, the capital O in oneness, the sense of one with everything. And through creative expression, through art, through music, and various spiritual practices. So you've seen, the picture's worth 1,000 words. I wanted to put the video there to show you how they're all camping out in outdoor different situations, and we're gonna go through a lot of that. Transformational culture is a massive emerging movement with millions involved now around the world. This is what has replaced the draw of many of the older cults and spiritual movements of previous decades, and as Christians, we must be aware of these trends. It is estimated that there's somewhere around 800 to 1,000 of these festivals now. Most of them take place on the west coast of Canada and the US, and these events are sometimes held by lakes, sometimes in forests, sometimes held in jungles. Burning Man, as we see, takes place in the desert on the playa. Press hard. Transformational culture is a massive, we already did that one, didn't we? We're going the wrong way. Boy, this thing's cursed. All right, so we're gonna take a look real quick at some of the big transformational festivals out there. Yeah, Burning Man, it takes place in the Black Rock Desert in Nevada. Lightning in a Bottle in California, Lake Skinner. Lucidity Festival. Symbiosis Gathering. Shambhala Gathering, that's in Canada. Envision Festival. Seriously. Boom Festival, it's the largest festival in Europe. It's like a whole city created by a lake. Luminate, New Zealand. Base Coast, another Canadian one. So these are examples of the tons of the festivals that are out there, these immersive experiences. So we're basically, we're taking our self-limiting beliefs. I say it's kind of like you have these breakthrough moments. This theme of this month or this year is the idea of transformation. So we experience personal transformation. Some people want to do fire walking or, jumping out of a, plane, skydiving. It's just a way to break through what you have. So at these festivals, they have all these different workshops, and some of them are really spiritual, some of them are fun stuff like glass blowing or relationship stuff. But there's definitely a dark spiritual side to some.
One of the things that I am so grateful for to be alive at this time is that it is literally every wisdom tradition present and available. You know, from every geographical place on the planet, from all historical times, the wisdom traditions and cosmological understandings of the one are here for us to play in. And I see Beloved as a great playground of all of these different ways of connecting. The other thing that I think is special about this time is that we're going through a quantum evolution of both understanding the importance of our own individuality and the power of it, and the joy, the great joy and ecstasy of coming back together in community. And I think that is the characterizing flavor of spirituality here. It's live your dreams. You matter. You are God. You have been born with tremendous gifts, and at the same time, come into connection, into joyful connection with people, with tools, with practices, with dance, song, the trees, the hills, with everything.
So I'm sure you caught all that. It's that we're God. They're talking about connecting with the oneness of all things. These are real themes. And I'm going to go over here the formation of festival culture, the different streams that have come together to make transformational festival what it is. So we're going to talk about outdoor festival culture, entheogens, which are hallucinogenic drugs, big part of it, visionary artwork, EDM, electronic dance music, counterculture, and alternative spirituality, all the things that come together to create transformational culture. So back in 1972, you might have heard of the Rainbow family, the Rainbow Gathering. They wanted to escape Babylon, a Rastafarian term, and they wanted to get out, they wanted to get away from consumerism and mass media and everything, so they would go outside for these multi-day events every July. They had a lot of run-ins with the Forest Bureau, the U.S. Forest, and they would just go out there and they live life. They do some spiritual things. They do an Om chant. The 60s, we saw Woodstock and Altamont and Monterey, so that was the beginnings of that kind of multi-day festival of music. And what's interesting here is that was their symbol we just saw of, boy, this thing just kicking the wrong way. Push. I'm going backwards, and it's going forwards. All right, so what I was saying is, and it's still going forward, on that slide, if you caught it, it said welcome home. That is the, I don't know what's going on here, but I keep on pushing back. There it is. So welcome home is a sign here. That's the website for the Rainbow family. That's what you say in witchcraft and different pagan traditions, welcome home. At Burning Man, when you first go in, Burning Man starts tonight at midnight for a week. It just goes on every year in the Black Rock Desert in Nevada. They would say, welcome home. So you're basically living in what they call the default world, like right here, but when you come on the playa, now you're home. And it's a term often used in paganism, but it's interesting. Even the website of the Rainbow family is welcomehome.org. So there's that whole kind of culture there. So transformational festivals would come later of this, but these are temporary intentional communities that they would do out there. They were living outdoors. It was like a lot of hippie stuff. They would talk about prayer and meditation and ecology and holistic life and better health. The second thing is entheogens. Entheogens, it comes from the Greek, en meaning in, theos, God. Putting together means God within. Gen comes from genesthai in Greek, meaning to become or come to being. So it's the idea of literally creating God from within through psychedelic drugs, entheogens. And they're hallucinogenics, but we're going to see how some of them really go into some really weird spiritual stuff. And entheogens is one of the streams, along with visionary art and some of the spiritual stuff that makes this thing go. So, I'm screaming here. Types of entheogens. So we'll say first, entheogens in history. So you know, they were used in different shamanic cultures, the Mayans. Kind of funny, if the Mayans were really into human sacrifice, right? How are they supposed to be so enlightened with their drugs and, you know, killing people? I just kind of made that connection this week. Like, that's kind of an odd thing, right? So the Aztecs, the Inca people, they would get different fungi and different plants and peyote, and they would have these, you know, different shamanistic trips with this stuff. The Native Americans have had a long history of medicine men and shamans. And for the Greeks as well, now I'm off the slide here. My slides have disappeared off the front. We're having real tech problems today. We got back up again? Okay, good. So, types of entheogens. So, there's different types. Ayahuasca is a really powerful one. It's got the chemical DMT. And this has been actually referred to as the God molecule or the spirit molecule, because people who take these kind of drugs have this incredible spiritual experience. A lot of them will go from atheism to believing in God because these powerful experiences. Magic mushroom used by the shamans also, which is peyote. So it has, scientists now have been able to identify and isolate the active chemicals in them. So mescaline is in peyote, but DMT is in ayahuasca, and they give you incredible trips. But especially ayahuasca with DMT, and some of the drugs that have DMT will actually give you this God encounter. So there's another called bufatoxins, and that's when they will scrape the poisonous venom off frogs, and they'll actually take it and get this incredible high. It's got naturally occurring DMT in there. And then a big one today among the young people is MDMA, which is, you've heard of ecstasy. So people go to EDM festivals, electronic dance music. They get really hardcore into Molly, which is a crystallized powder, or ecstasy, which is more of a pill. And it creates, it's called an empathogen, so it kind of makes you feel real close to other people, and you have a real sense of tactile stuff. You touch a piece of velvet, it feels like way more intense than it is if you're not on it. So it creates a whole different consciousness, a lot of these drugs. But the ones that go more into spirituality, we're going to see, are the ones with DMT. Okay, entheogens in history, we did that, and we're going backwards again. Okay, visionary artwork. Now, I didn't want to put pictures of the art because it's copyrighted. I was actually at a concert the other day, and the fellow behind me, I said, hey, this is not copyright violation. I took a picture of his shirt. So this is by John Gray. They're almost the father of this visionary artwork for that that's often used in these festivals. And it was funny because on the stage at the same time, the artist who was playing, he had visionary art too, of a person meditating with a chakras all lit up and everything. It's like, wow, this is like a major band. So, so visionary artwork. And what it tries to do, it tries to express kind of a higher consciousness mirrored in the artwork. So you have, you know, themes like consciousness, shamanism, mind-bending, psychedelic visions, and often they'll have like a woman who's posed in a meditative state where her chakra is opening up, or third eye, or some of that stuff. So it kind of shows like a different reality of her than her own, like an alternate reality. Burning Man is almost like that. You have that alternate reality you're trying to achieve through some of the entheogen drugs as well. And there's Alex Gray, who painted that shirt with his wife, meeting God in LSD. They're big advocates of using these different drugs, and they want to get that sense of, give us a glimpse of what that oneness looks like through their artwork. And we'll have a video showing it, that way it's not, you know, reproducing the art. So dream state, shamanic vision quest, meditation, trance, astral journeys, lucid dreamings are all elements portrayed in this art form to give us that taste of that alternate reality. And these guys will go to Burning Man. When I was at Burning Man, he was there. They make the rounds at a lot of these festivals. So they talk about, they met in 1985 or 75 after they were both doing sacramental journeys on LSD to write their art. So they write the art to kind of under the influence, but to give you that idea of what it's like for us in the regular world. So here's some AI-generated ones. They're not copyrighted. You can see that concepts of, you know, the meditative consciousness and this vision art is huge at these festivals.
That's what established religions have done. It said God is separate, God is other, God is outside of you. And this is what I think has been the great fall from grace, is humanity disconnecting from the experience of spirituality. Part of what we're doing at these gatherings is regaining our natural intuitive wisdom and redeveloping this deep experience of the divine.
Okay, so it's a worldwide culture of EDM. It's basically a synthesizer-based music. It's different than traditional music. It doesn't have lyrics or song structure so much. It's always evolving and changing, so you get caught in this kind of hypnotic trance-like state through the dance. You're mixing ecstasy and some of the drugs that get you really into the vibe. The whole dance floor is moving 1,000 people up and down, and you just get lost in it. And people talk about having their chakras opened up on the dance floor, reaching higher states of consciousness because you're mixing a lot of ecstasy and the drugs, MDMA, with it. And for them, it's a sacred form of music. You know, like they'd say, you know, we have ours in the church. Well, on the dance floor with EDM, they have their dance. They're trying to sacred music. It's EDM. And so what had happened in the history with EDM, it got really big, and then people started to have their dances, and then a lot of people were overdosing or having problems being rushed to hospital with all these kind of drugs. And then the police in the early 90s started to get hold of it, and they started shutting down the raves. So they would have these big rave parties with EDM music blasting in warehouses. And when the police got aware of it, they decided we're gonna move these EDM festivals outdoors. So they're gonna have like generators and take it away from the city into remote spots, setting us up for transformational festivals. So just like you have the Rainbow Family thing out in the outdoors, and some of these festivals now, EDM music is starting to go outdoors. And they started bringing visionary artwork into these EDM festivals. So you're mixing the drugs with the hallucinogenic drugs and theogens, which is like the God drug, right? With the visionary artwork of the higher consciousness states and the music, and it's all coming together in these outdoor festivals. So this is how technology contributed, because EDM is a new kind of music based upon synthesizers and drum machines and technology, not acoustic instruments like they've had in previous generations. It's like the newest thing where you could tweak the music live and sync up the beats and everything. And then theogens is where scientists were able to isolate the active chemicals and then use that. So it's kind of pushing all this stuff along that weren't available in previous generations. So now we're also the other stream coming into transformational festivals, influences from the counterculture. And a number of countercultures come together to create Burning Man and other transformational cultures like rave culture, tech culture, primitive culture, new age culture, hippie culture, nudist culture, business culture, pagan culture, queer culture, and so on. They all go into this melting pot of counterculture to create this new world, this alternate reality that you go partake for this temporary community for a little while. There's various types of various streams, outdoor festivals, visionary artwork, EDM music, and theogens and psychedelics, pagan spirituality. They've all come together to give us transformational festivals along with countercultural themes of, I'm gonna turn around, of anti-capitalism, anti-government, anti-traditional religion, free love, Eastern spirituality, and so on. So Burning Man basically considers itself a blank canvas or a petri dish. They just host it. They don't do all the workshops and programs that go on there. They just give you an environment. You can come there, do your own sense of experimentation, spiritually, sexually, socially, and then you just create your own reality on the playa. They just kind of host it as that petri dish for you. So I'm also, now we're talking about the other stream. And I say here, thinkers have been really good about classifying certain kinds of worldviews. We've talked for years in apologetics about theism, atheism or naturalism, pantheism, polytheism, New Age. So these are different ways we've categorized beliefs. And now we have to have a new one, paganism. We need to add that to our catalog because it's getting really big out there. And in the old days, paganism, it comes from the Latin paganus. Basically, those are the unevangelized, or heathen. Those are on the heaths, the outskirts, the last to be evangelized. But that's like the generic unevangelized version. But now, paganism is something very different. It's a earth religion, and this is a really good definition I have that I think we should kind of memorize and associate with what paganism is. It's a pantheistic, polytheistic nature religion. A pantheistic, polytheistic nature religion. That's the definition of paganism. It's not, worshiping Satan. We're talking Wicca and witchcraft. We'll go through the list right here, if I can get this thing to click. Click. There we go. So pagans, first off, do not worship or believe in Satan. Paganism is an earth religion that believes in nature spirituality. They believe in the divinity of man, divinity of nature, divinity of all things. Paganism is typically the pre-Christian indigenous language of a land before the gospel hits it. The ancient Greeks, the Romans, and the Norse peoples, they had their pagan gods. The Canaanites in the Old Testament, what was Ashtaroth? She was a fertility god, right? So these are the pagan gods of the land before it comes along. Historically, Christianity, they call it in the history books, stamped out paganism. And the god of the moon, the god of the mountain, the rivers, the wind, the harvest. This is the pagan gods that they believed in, and it was all replaced with monotheism. All right, but it's coming back, paganism. That's the problem. That was historically, now it's coming back. So what are the beliefs of the old ways, that's what they call it, of paganism? They believe in seasonal cycles of the sun and the moon, seasonal festivals like solstices and equinoxes, symbols and rituals honoring, this guy's great, symbols and rituals honoring fertility and rebirth, sacred spaces like altars and shrines to deities, a belief in gods and goddesses, spirits and sometimes fairies, live using plants and herbs, nature medicine, natural powers of nature for rituals, divination, word really common in the Old Testament, right? Magic, spells, and healing. So this is what paganism. Now, a lot of Christians make a giant mistake and they confuse New Age with paganism. Look, they're both believe in the oneness of all things, monism, right? But they're very, very different. New Age thinking, man's basic problem is that he's forgotten that he's divine. We have to use different practices and different techniques like channeling and crystals and consciousness raising things, meditation. Paganism is very different. Paganism, man's basic problem is his disconnectedness from nature and the interconnectedness of all things is a nature religion. And New Agers, they believe in manifesting an outward reality. We're going to manifest this outside of myself with the right thinking and the practices. And they like to look more within their inner divinity, their God consciousness. Paganism, on the other hand, they believe that nature and the physical world are very real. It's not manifested. And that our problem is we've lost our connection to nature. So pagans tend to look outside themselves and connect to the deities, their ancestors, earth. Of course, there's some looking within, but this is more the pattern. And New Agers, like pagans, will often mock New Agers and say, you guys are just a bunch of fluffy bunnies. He goes, you and you're manifesting in this oneness kind of thing. But pagans is getting huge now in the high school kids. I don't know if you know, like TikTok has the social media has a channel called Witch Talk, and it's got like 30 billion views on there. Billion with a B. So this is the teenage girls and the young women and stuff who are getting into this stuff. It's really heartbreaking. So the contemporary paganism, the new paganism, is an umbrella term for a number of movements and traditions like Wicca, which is modern witchcraft today, neo-paganism, Druidism, also Celtic paganism, shamanism, heathenism, generic paganism. I will say some shamans object to having it called a spiritual path. They say it's more of a technique. That's not really true paganism, but that's not, like some people say Buddhism's not a world religion. Shouldn't be in a book of world religions. You should open it up to see Hinduism, Christianity, Judaism, but not Buddhism. Is more of a technique. Well, I'd still say that's a religion, just like, say, shamanism is. So Burning Man and transformational festivals and worldview would also fit into here. So what is Burning Man? Burning Man is an annual week-long festival where people from all over the world go to build a temporary city in a harsh desert environment in order to participate in creating, experiencing art, community, and spirituality, all with the idea of radical self-expression without judgment. You can do anything you want out there. You're in that harsh desert playa, and the playa is one of the largest areas in North America of a flat ground. You can drive your car blindfolded 100 miles an hour for like 10 minutes and not hit anything. There's no life on there. There's no trees or shrubbery. It's this large alkaline bed in northwestern Nevada, about 100 miles away from Reno. What's life on the playa like? So on the playa, you're completely cut off from the outside world. There's no electricity, no plumbing, no water. Really difficult to get cell phone or internet. Click. So it's like Club Med on steroids, as you're kind of out there, cut off from it all, right? The conditions are rough with frequent dust storms. You wear these cloths over your face like a bandana so you're not inhaling. When I was at Burning Man, I'd be spitting blood every morning when I woke up with this sulfuric powder in myself. It gets into all your electronics and everything. Your food tastes horrible with all this playa dust in there. There's nothing bought and sold at Burning Man except ice and coffee. It's called the gift economy. So what they're doing is they're trying to keep a blueprint, a utopic view on the playa that we can take to the rest of the world with this underlying paganism. So a lot of big cultural leaders, like the billionaires, are there. On the outside pictures here, the founders of Google, Larry Page and Sergey Brin. You got Elon Musk there. We know who he is. Jeff Bezos, Amazon, Facebook, all these guys are burners. The very first Google Doodle, you've seen those Google Doodles? The first one ever was Burning Man, Building 42 on the Google campus. All Google artwork they had over there. It's just like a real big thing. They encourage their employees to go to that. So celebrities go like crazy. Here you got Sting, Will Smith, Katy Perry, Robin Williams, Cindy Crawford, Sarah Sarandon, Chris Rock, Jared Leto, Paris Hilton, Todd Rundgren, Joan Baez, Diddy, Perry Farrell started Lollapalooza, Adam Lambert, Queen, Rosario Dawson, Heidi Klum. There's just a sampling of celebrity power that goes to Burning Man. I mean, A-list actors and stuff. So what is the man? He's the man. You can see him in the middle of the city where from all over the playa. There he is when he's in the daytime, and at night, he's lit up with neon like that, so you can see him anywhere in the city. It's like a giant futuristic horseshoe that they build a city. Then a few days later, it's gone without a trace. Huge city, it's 70,000 people, 80,000 people right there. They have their own infrastructure, fire department, post office, and everything just gone. So it's that temporary community. You come to experience things in that Petri dish environment and have spiritual transformation. And then at the night when they burn him, man, that's a really old picture. But I just wanted one where they put his arms up. So at the end, the last night, they burned the man on Saturday night. So that'll be a week from today. They put his arms up and he's lit up and they shoot all these fireworks off and they have drummers and fire spinners and everything. And they basically burn him to the ground. He's about 40 feet tall. He sits on a 40-feet base. And there's the big celebration at night. His arms are up, and there's crowds there. They're just partying. The base is usually based on an annual theme. This was a spaceship a few years ago, and you could go into it like throughout the week before Saturday and do things. And then they light it up, and he's like 40 feet tall on top of the 40-foot base. They have a different theme. So that's kind of what goes on. And from what we saw, you know, it's like you can see at the beginning of that video how fun this would be for a lot of people, right? Like, you know, I would joke, like, do you want to go to some church with these like blue-haired ladies and their pink cookies in the basement? Or do you want to go out where we're having a radical time and partying and dance music all night and amazing artwork and temples? I mean, you know, the church cannot compete with Hollywood. You know, but this is like Hollywood. We always use the word steroids. Like Burning Man is like Disneyland on steroids or Mardi Gras on steroids. I saw that temple, and it was massive, and it's a beautiful structure. It had 5 different towers on it. It had a giant harp. It stretched across, an auto harp, and it was like one of the largest musical instruments around. Burned that thing to the ground on Sunday night. And there's also the Lightning in a Bottle Festival. They had a Temple of Consciousness for a number of years as well, too. So these dedicated space. So here's the Temple of Juno. Juno is the pagan two-faced god. So that's burning the temple too. So what happens at Burning Man? Like I said, it's art, community, and spirituality. The man is burned on Saturday evening. The temple is burned Sunday night. Completely different experiences. On Saturday night, everyone's running around naked, screaming, getting drunk, yelling, partying. But then at the temple on Sunday night is complete silence and reverence, and people are quiet. There's like, you'll be surrounded by 70,000 people, not even a cough. They're just quietly meditating there and experiencing their loss and their healing through being there in the temple. I'll explain how that works. When you go onto the playa, you can be whoever you want to be for a week. You get a playa name, you create a new identity. You can walk around with a television on your head or a lobster uniform, or paint your skin blue, or be naked, or you just like you do whatever you want. And that's why I said you go home to Burning Man instead of the default world, this alternate reality. Everyone gets a chance to be an artist for a week. So they would say, look, in your normal default world, you're suppressed. You might be an amazing artist at any one of these types of art, but you're not, in our busy business world and everything, you're not even connecting with your inner creative side. Come to Burning Man, you can, and it's true, there's amazing artwork there you don't see anywhere in the world. You can connect and be an artist for a few days. I was gonna put a slide on this, I'll just comment quickly. We need a theology of aesthetics. Like God look at the world, how beautiful this world is, and amazing colors and tastes and smells and the beauty. God didn't have to make it this beautiful, but he did. And the geometry and everything. And, it's like if God is a creative God and we're in his image, we have that creative part spiritually in our deep soul level, I believe. So in Burning Man, when you're out there, you live the 10 principles. And we're going to see that in a second. You get to experience only a tiny part of Burning Man, but it's so massive. Most people get around by bicycles, all around the playa, or slow driving art cars, or what they call mutant vehicles. They'll radically change a car, like that fire-breathing octopus. I saw that at Burning Man, and it goes around on wheels, slowly around. It's just crazy stuff. And you experience personal and spiritual transformation. That's why it's called a transformational festival. So they have many annual themes. The organization picks the annual theme. And some of the themes are often reflecting the activities that go through the festival. They have themed camps, and often these will reflect what goes on in the annual theme. So you might have like an Angry Birds camp, or a Mad Max camp, or French food camp. Here's an example of some of the themes of Burning Man. The Vault of Heaven, the Green Man, that's a paganism symbol, the Green Man. Evolution, Rites of Passage, Metamorphosis, the multiverse. So this is actually from the Boom Festival. Look at the occultic overtones here. It says water, alchemy, shamanism. There's the picture on the right. These shamanic figures over there. Sacred geometry. So there's a lot of kind of paganism woven into this whole thing. The temple is used as a tool for healing. Like I said, it's a solvent atmosphere. When you walk in the daytime, people are often there crying and meditating and reflecting on the loss they've had in the previous year. It's the spiritual heart of Burning Man. And it's almost like you go to a war memorial and then you're not supposed to talk loud or anything. You got to be quiet. That's kind of the feel over there. So it's that sacred space they talk about, like in paganism. They're beautiful structures. You saw the one we looked at a minute ago. So these things are just temporary and they're incredible. They worked on for all year and then they just burn them up and they're gone. So you bring your pain and leave in the temple. So what people do is you'll write the name of the person you lost. Your daughter died. Or you hang up the war tags, your brother who died in a foreign war, or your little child died, a crib death, and you put their favorite toy in the temple. And then the temple is set on fire on Sunday night, and then it's a way of healing, because when it burns down, it breaks that connection with you and that object, so that you kind of get this kind of healing. And this is one of the fallacies of Burning Man, because it might be emotional. It's like the Japanese, boats, when they set them on fire and send them out. Yeah, it's a little symbolic projection of your healing, but it's not true healing. And they consider here, your healing is your spiritual growth. Spiritual growth is not emotional growth. And just because you might be forgiving someone doesn't mean it's automatically spiritual. So why do people go to Burning Man? There's really, you go out there, it's a grind. It's like that horrible tasting food and the playa dust and everything, your eyes, you have to wear goggles. And, you're getting away from all the luxuries of life. Three main reasons people go to Burning Man. One is that they use it as a blow-off valve. There's a thing called techno-pagans. A lot of Silicon Valley programmers sit in their cubicles. They want to get out there and blow off steam and party and go crazy. Two, they enjoy the art, community, and spirituality aspect of Burning Man. Three, they believe in the mission of the 10 principles. They want to take that mission to the default world as a way of getting it off the playa. Here are the 10 principles. of Burning Man, kind of hard to read up there, but radical inclusion, gifting, decommodification, radical self-reliance, radical self-expression, anything goes, communal effort, civic responsibility, leave no trace. You have to clean the playa so there's no moop. Moop means matter out of place. Participation, and the idea of immediacy. So these are the 10 principles of Burning Man. So you have to have a balanced view as a Christian when looking at Burning Man, because you don't want to sound like dumb and uninformed or superstitious or whatever. So some people think that it's the greatest thing in the world. They're cheerleaders for it. But then some Christians think, I think there was an article in some Christian magazine about like 50,000 people going out to the desert to pray to Satan. No, it's not. What's the best way to look at it? So there's a lot of really interesting, incredible things at Burning Man, amazing artwork you don't get to see anywhere. But at the same time, there's definitely a dark side of spirituality, despite the lovingness of the community and all that. So we're flying here, too many slides. So that's the symbol of Burning Man. I'll be driving down the road sometimes. I'll see that back of an RV, and I know it's automatically a Burning Man picture. So here's Larry Harvey. And he was the one who takes credit as being the first, person who came up with Burning Man. He was the executive director. And he tried to say he's the sole creative force. He was an atheist, but he believed somehow in the world of spirit. So the origins go back to a group in San Francisco. It's kind of like a prank group. It's called the Suicide Club. And it started in 1977. And what they would do is they do bridge climbing, and they would do cult infiltration, and they'd all get on the bus like as clowns. They had some funny sides to it. It was an adventure kind of club. So you'd be sitting on a bus, right? Then a clown would get on one stop, another clown would get on the next stop next. Before you know it, the whole bus is full of clowns. And it's like just crazy, funny stuff like that. So that fizzled out in 1982, and then it became the Cacophony Club. So here they are in formal wear, exploring some of the sewers of San Francisco. They would do a formal thing also on the Golden Gate Bridge like this. They're a San Francisco-based group, but now they're in other cities in the US, and they're still going on, but they've kind of fizzled a bit. So San Francisco has been a countercultural hub in a lot of ways, and Mary Grobauer was an artist who used to go to burn art on Baker Beach in San Francisco. And Larry Harvey, his old girlfriend, knew Mary Grobauer with his art, and she used to go there. So there's a little bit of inspiration of burning artwork, So The Golden Bough is a famous book by J.G. Fraser, and he would talk about wicker men in that book. And if you know wicker man, it's a giant kind of woven figure of a man where they used to do human sacrifice inside of there. So there was a movie in 1973, a British horror movie, and it was about a Christian policeman, a real conservative, good Christian man, and he goes to this island, Christopher Lee's in it, and it's a bunch of pagans, and at the end, spoiler, they put him inside as a human sacrifice inside the wicker man and burn him down. And I talked to Larry Harvey's roommate. He often said, I never saw this movie. I've never seen it. He goes, we used to watch it all the time. And he used to carry the golden bow around. And it's like Larry would say, I didn't know. It's not true. His roommate who helped build the man, they built it in the first one in his mother's garage. He used to work with Larry. We're going to hear from him in a moment. And it's quite revealing. So, and what happened is that they did the first burn. Let's go back a slide. What happened is in 1986 on the summer solstice, they decided they could burn this figure. So he was like, 8 feet high, and they all gathered together. It was like about 30 people, and they just burned him. Larry Harvey says for no spontaneous reason, needed no justification. They burned his figure on the beach. The next year, he got bigger. He's like 15 feet high, and 100 people or 80 people came that year. So he's getting bigger every year, and more people. This Cacophony Prank Society, they basically read about Burning Man, and then they decided, or the burners actually heard about the Cacophony, and they invited him over there. So what happened now, the two groups joined. So the burners became cacophonous, the cacophonous became burners, and this is the first time that they actually used the word Burning Man. So in 1988, staying on the slide, in 1988, what had happened, the police got involved because the rich people from the cliffs could see artwork being burned, like this figure was getting bigger and bigger. Now it's like 30 feet high, and they said, we don't want this artwork being burned on the beach where all these hippies are partying over there. And they called the police. And that was the first time they had a problem. Then in 1990, let's go back, 1990, the police came and shut it down. And they said, you cannot burn the man. And they said, yeah, we are going to burn the man. Well, Cacophony Society used to do these zone trips where you go these different ventures, and they said, we know a place in the Black Rock Desert would be perfect to burn the man. They went out to the desert to burn the man, and they actually did it on the Labor Day weekend, like they're doing right now, coming up with Burning Man, and that's how it started. So they only had a few people go out there, and it was crazy. It was total anarchy at the beginning of Burning Man. I mean, they'd be shooting off guns like this and automatic weapons and throwing bombs. There was a thing called Car Hunt, and they had a remote control car, and they'd get in the back of a bus with machine guns and rifles and shotguns. They'd be blasting away at the car. And I mean, there'd be people high on cocaine doing 100 miles an hour in the dark. It was like total anarchy party. So that's how Burning Man started. But now it's going to start to evolve. Remember, Larry Harvey takes all the credit. So William Binzen is an artist, and he used to do this living art out right near Burning Man in the Black Rock Desert, and it was called Desert Site Works. So they used to do neon and different kinds of art, and then eventually they started going to Burning Man. He became friends with Larry Harvey, and then Burning Man started becoming more of an art event, and that was taken from Desert Site Works. And it's sad because I've known William for a long time, and he's been completely written out of the history of Burning Man. He's given no credit for this stuff, and they basically just give Larry Harvey all the credit for being the sole creative mind of it, and he didn't bring any of the artwork or anything, and Binzen's a great guy and deserves credit on that. So 1996 was pivotal. Wired magazine picture there had a front cover of Burning Man. It was all word of mouth. Now it's like, holy cow, there was this event going on. It just automatically created a huge exposure, and people started coming like crazy to Burning Man. And there was a terrible tragedy there where a motorcycle rider was killed right near it. He's part of the Burning Man team. And then a truck went right through a tent and injured 3 people in the dark who were over there with one of their electronic music camps. And it was and John Law, who's he put the neon on the man. He's an important figure. He used to own Burning Man. He ended up leaving over that. So they said, now we got to have new rules, and we're going to have to create a city with rules to protect ourselves legally. And that was a huge change for Burning Man. That's when it went the horseshoe shape. They're starting to get rid of the anarchy and the wild guns and drinking cocaine and everything on there. So in 2000, this is the year the temple entered. This is where it starts to become a spiritual event. So now we've had all the creativity, the Cacophony Society. We have the artwork, and a lot of change. Now the structure coming in after all the deaths in '96. Now David Best is an artist, San Francisco artist. Just like Larry Harvey, he's an atheist who believes in the world of spirit somehow. He comes there and builds this temple. He had a friend die shortly before it. He was going to bring it there just as an art installation structure, but then his friend died, and he said, we're going to commemorate this to Michael. And not only that, anyone else who's coming here with pain, they can come to this as a place of, healing and just meditation. So David Best created the temple. Since then, the temples are incredibly elaborate. They have different themes for different years. And they have names like the Temple of Forgiveness and the Temple of Meditation and on and on and on. The man, he's on these different theme bases too, so they're quite elaborate and huge. So 2011 was the first year Burning Man sold out. People were going crazy. It's like, I'm fanatical to go to Burning Man. I can't miss it. And they were going for $1,400 a ticket on eBay and Craigslist, and people just could not miss the event. This year was the first year since Burning Man in 2011 that it didn't sell out. And people say it could be Bidenomics, it could be the economy, the high fuel prices to travel over there, the poor economy. It's very expensive. I mean, you're going to take a week off. You got to rent an RV. You got to miss work. You got to pack all your food in cooling and tons. It costs thousands of dollars to go. Just say you're going from New York to Nevada. You're traveling all that. It's a lot of money. So people, it's not this year. They're not doing it. So in 2020, 2021 was a global pandemic. They canceled Burning Man and they went virtual. So they had these 8 different worlds, and they called it the multiverse in 2020. So this is where you're finally seeing a virtual realm. You can participate with a mouse or a VR headset and get to see Burning Man. So Larry Harvey, is he really the sole creative mind? Boy, we got a few more to go here, so we're gonna keep flying here. So is he really the creative mind? Well, he tries to take credit for Burning Man. And the Wicker Man is an inspiration, the Golden Bow, the hanging out with these guys, the Cacophony Society, the artwork. Now, Judy West, who is the partner of William Binzen, said, before Desert Sightworks came along, Burning Man was just like a cocktail party for the Cacophony Society. We definitely brought the art to Burning Man. Larry Harvey never gave us credit for that. So basically, again, he was just taking all the glory for himself that he did this creative experience. All right. So this is a quote. I talked to, he gave me permission to do this. This is Larry Harvey's roommate who lived with him. This is enlightening. He's got that thick accent, Michael Flash Hopkins. He's a Burning Man legend. But he's going to tell you something really revealing, and I broke that in my Spiritual Counterfeits project, if you want to go deeper on Burning Man, journal on Burning Man.
Well, Larry and Jerry and I built the first one because Larry, it's not a man, it's a woman, and her name is Patricia, and Larry was upset that she wasn't letting him see his child, and so he wanted to, he was very upset with it, so he decided to build an effigy of Pat and burn her, and we decided that it wouldn't be good to do it out in front of a house. We decided it would be better if we brought it down to the beach and did it down at the beach. So we burned it because Mary Grauberger at the time was down there doing this sort of Richie Poo kind of rituals down there for, sort of a Wicker Man style spring thing there. And so we decided we'd bring it down there and burn it down there. And it's never been a man, it's always been a woman. And you can just look at the shape of it and you'll notice that it has like really shapely hips, and that's kind of, it's always been a standard joke with us because it's never been a man, it was always a woman. But, we realized though, if we ever said it was a burning woman, that we'd never get any, you'd never have any women out there. They'd think we were just, He-Man women haters. And so by calling it Burning Man, I mean, girls were definitely into that. They were like, oh yeah, burn the man. And as long as the man isn't named, Matthew or something, it's like, hey, I don't care who it is, burn him, and so we had, it was kind of a funny way to do it. It's like calling it a Burning Man. It was a way to, it was much more socially acceptable, especially in San Francisco. So it was kind of a joke, and it was a joke to begin with. It wasn't, in one respect, it wasn't the sacredness of it all or the spiritualness of it all. And we went on a journey to the sacred. He was just a little upset with Patricia and decided that he should, burn her, and this would get it out of his soul or whatever, and just get it, so it was another way of venting his anger. So we built Patricia in the basement of my mother-in-law's basement, and took it out to the beach and burned it where Mary was burning her stuff.
So it's almost like a sexist act of revenge because he wanted to burn an effigy of his wife on her front lawn, and they talked him out of it, and that's how Burning Man really started. The truth. This is from his roommate who knew him, who he worked with. They built that man in his garage first. What is originally a woman. So that's the true story of Burning Man and how Larry Harvey rolls. So we're going to do a quick response. I think what we could do is just run it right to the end. We got 8 minutes left, and I can go over here if you have any questions. We get more content that way. So one of the big things I talk about with Burning Man is that it makes you ask new questions. Anytime a new cult or group comes out, it makes you ask questions that have never been asked before. So Larry Harvey himself says, we are not, he said, he's passed, we're not a religion, but we're certainly a spiritual movement. So it's like, wow, now he's saying that. Marion Goodell, current CEO, says it's a way of life, the way you look at life. So the new questions, for example, is if you have, a drum circle and you're all hyped up, oh, that's a spiritual experience. No, it's not, it's just a drum circle. But they have this broad definition, and they call it, how do we answer that as Christians? Well, this is a great reminder to answer certain kind of groups that are not biblically based, more pagan, or groups that you can't use authority scripture. Burning Man has become a replacement for God in your life. I've used that with Scientology. Scientology has become a replacement for God in your life. It's basically, you're taking this belief system, and where you should be having God, you're putting this in the place. That's a really, I think, powerful argument. I've seen it effective with people. So there's a lot to talk about culture. They always talk about Burning Man culture. So they talk about radical self-expression. There's a lot of illicit substances. They push the envelope really bad with all their perversions and craziness. So we're going to talk about a few of the activities really quick. When you go to Burning Man, you get these booklets, the what, where, when guides, and it has all the list of the different events that go on. You get these at the door, at the gate, they call it, where you go in. So these are some of the years. So here's examples of stuff that goes on. Queer Sex Magic, explore how to expand deep in our queer magnificence. Famous Orgy Dome, Satan's School for Sluts, Rider False Idols and stuff. Some of it's just so blasphemous against God. I mean, this is so tame compared to the really stuff I can't even say publicly. Shamanism, shamanistic healings, the Spirited Stuck. This is like for a session, like Wednesday afternoon, 1 o'clock on the playa. We channel spirit to clean up negs, rescue lost souls, get your shadow to flow in group of 1. Shaman's Path, shamanism, psychedelics and neuroscience, animal totem meditation. Enter into your inner world and find the animal spirit totem power through guided meditation. Advanced shamanistic technique. So this is the side a lot of people don't talk about with Burning Man. It's just like a really weird spirituality. Anything goes out there. And the real way to really explain Burning Man is through these booklets, because this is the only place that really documents what really goes on the playa. They're so proud of their Burning Man culture. Well, what is Burning Man culture? It's this. So tantric meditation, tantra energy flow, sacred sex, tantric touch for intimate partners. On other ones, I'm obtaining Buddhahood in this lifetime, losing my religion, atheistic agnostic soiree at Uli Baba's. We invite all hedonists, heretics, infidels, and cosmically confused to Holy Communion of his noodly body in savory blood of blended herbs. Channeling from other dimensions. I mean, you go there to learn how spirits take over your body to channel through you. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that goes on. It's just mind-blowing. You know, you have like all kinds of cults there, Kabbalah, I Ching, Wicca, Lotus Sutra, that's Nichiren Shoshu Buddhism, Soka Gakkai, human energy healing, alchemy, it just goes on and on, all kinds of new age, conspiracy thinking. So basically it's all kinds of irreverence, blasphemy, nudity, just crazy partying mixed in with all the stuff. It's all the countercultural kind of stuff. Like I said, Mardi Gras and steroids. There's a lot of crazy stuff. Rape is so prevalent at Burning Man now, they give you the Bureau of Erotic Discourse as you go in. They give you a pamphlet what to do if you're raped. You're in a perfect environment. You're in the dark desert playa. There's no one around. Someone will come, a girl in our camp was raped. They knock you down. They just hold you down. They took her cell phone after because you tried to take a picture. And they just hold you down and they do their thing and then they ride off into the dark. You never see them again. 80,000 people. So it's bad stuff. Here's another a fruit of Burning Man culture. A few years ago, there was a 12-year-old boy who was being paraded around naked on top of one of the art cars by his father. So the Washoe County Sheriff, who oversees the event, kind of got the DA and they got prosecuted. But this is the fruit of Burning Man culture. It's not good, pure stuff. Oh, I don't think we have to blow past this. I'll just give a couple of quick things on paganism, and then we're going to wrap. Paganism is the worship of nature. And a biblical worldview sees God as transcendent, not immanent. God is above culture. Paganism puts him within culture. And paganism, basically, this is a good summary of the mindset of paganism, why it's wrong in God's eyes. Paganism ends up looking at its relationships with the gods to be transactional, to be where you do things to appease or try to move the actions or the will of the deity through various rituals or acts of divination or to gain knowledge or an ability to discover the future. So the God of the Bible is transcendent. He does his will. You can't move the hand of God by doing these kind of rituals and everything. It's a whole different way of doing things. I need my clicker. You know what? We'll skip this one. This is on visionary artwork that I couldn't fit in because of the copyright stuff. God's condemnation on the pagan world is they exchange the truth of the God for a lie. They worship the creation more than the creator. That's the essence of paganism, to worship nature. And the God of the Bible doesn't roll that way. We talk about transcendence and immanence. God of the Bible is where you have God who's neither transcendent or immanent, or he's transcendent, unknowable, like in Baha'ism or Kabbalah, or God's immanent only, but the God of the Bible makes sense because he's both transcendent unlike other religions. And we'll just look at this one. We're going to get ready to wrap up. This is just unbelievably creepy. So in DMT, when you do a DMT trip, you run into what they call the machine elves. And you run into these spirits while you're on your ayahuasca trip. And it's just crazy. So they also called DMT elves, and they describe their encounters. And this is so widespread. Demons and spirits and robots and aliens. I'll just read this quote. We're getting ready to wrap. The most common next slide, please. So these are examples of books written how they're so common that people run into these demons, these machine elves in DMT when they're taking their trips, to show you how common. So a lot of these occultic kind of things, like, automatic writings, UFO encounters, shamanistic trips, you kind of have these encounters of spirits and automatic writing. Here's an incredible quote. When I was first going under, there were these insect creatures all around me. They were clearly trying to break through. I was fighting to letting go of who I was. The more I fought, the more demonic they became, probing into my psyche or being. These spirit entities that you encounter. It's just incredible. A few more things to go, but I think we got a wrap for time. So it's been a good introduction to Burning Man. It's a pagan, hedonistic, wild party. It's starting tonight. And we'll just, any other quick stuff, you can hit me up over here, but we've ran it to the clock. Thanks, guys. I haven't got to all the crazy stuff.